I'm Janet Alvarez, your host with you Monday through Fridays from 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern, bringing you the best from the worlds of business, finance, and economics and the smartest people in the room to help you make sense of it. Our phone lines are always open for you at 1-844-942-7866, where we take your questions, your calls on anything to do with markets, personal finance, investing, or the economy. We're going to give a warm welcome now to our next guest, Kristin Smith, president of the Solana Policy Institute. Kristin, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Janet. I'm doing well.
Kristin, so the SEC, the CFTC, they're holding a joint roundtable next Monday, hoping to create some clear crypto rules. Tell us about this meeting and what the expectations are.
Well, I think this is the latest example of what a productive effort is going on with the federal government right now when it comes to crypto policy. I think that when we look at the renewed interest in crypto as an investment class or crypto as a technology, this is all being driven by having clearer rules of the road. And there has been a long history between the two market regulators, the SEC and the CFTC, and the fact that they are now looking to tackle some of these problems jointly, I think shows a new level of collaboration that we haven't seen in the past, and it bodes well as these agencies are looking to provide more guidance and put more rules in place so that more and more people feel comfortable utilizing this technology. So we're super excited, and they have 3 panels set with many experts that are planning to testify. So it should be a good conversation, but it really just shows that this regulatory certainty is driving the 2 big trends that we've seen this summer, and that is that Wall Street is coming to crypto in order to upgrade their technology, and crypto is coming to Wall Street in the terms of new investment categories that we're seeing. So very exciting time in DC.
So DC is abuzz with crypto. What are you hearing from policymakers? Because you're a little bit of a fly on the wall, Kristin. What is the mood right now?
Yeah, listen, I think that they really want to tackle these problems. I think for a long time there was sort of this sense that this was a fad, that these weren't, valuable assets, it wasn't a valuable network, and that they didn't need to be bothered with looking at these rules. But what we've found is that is no more. They realize that this is a technology that many Americans care about. Over 20% of Americans are, have investments in crypto. That this is something where they want to have an appropriate regulatory framework in place, and I think it's why, as kind of your prior guest noted, the Genius Act was signed into law earlier this year, and why the regulators are trying to find more prescriptive rules so that it's clear how to operate. But yeah, there's a tremendous amount of excitement, but there's a real sense that this is the time to get the mission done in DC.
So we're seeing, increasing interest in digital asset treasuries, everybody kind of wanting to get into this slice of the pie. Tell us about Solana, why you think it's uniquely positioned to dominate this space.
Yeah, well, digital asset treasuries are a relatively new phenomenon in the summer. This was a model that was pioneered by Michael Saylor at Strategy, formerly known as MicroStrategy, but we're now starting to see it in other crypto asset classes. And so, Solana as an asset, the SOL tokens, are very useful. So what we're seeing with these digital asset treasuries is they're working to acquire as many of the Solana tokens as possible, but then they put them to use in the network. They stake them, which provides a yield, but then they also participate in DeFi, in lending, and in validating the network. And so these are almost like operational entities that are part of a publicly traded vehicle. So it's a great way for investors who are interested, who believe in Solana, to get exposure without having to go out and buy the tokens themselves.
We're speaking with Kristin Smith, Solana Policy Institute president. Talk to us about general adoption of Solana and how well you think the investing public is educated right now, because crypto is such a rapidly evolving space. Solana, a huge player in it, of course, but there's so much more to be done, I think, in terms of education, in terms of empowering investors. Where are we on that journey right now?
Yeah, well, I think Solana as an investment is relatively new for sort of the mainstream investor. And what we have is with these digital asset treasury companies that have been, many of them just launched in the past month, but also the soon to be live exchange traded products that are going to be available. These ETFs, traditionally we've just had Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. We should have Solana live in the next week or two. I think that this is going to become more of a household name amongst investors, both institutionally and individually. And so I think that this is a really important technology that is, over time, we believe, going to be the home of all kinds of markets. We'll be able to issue and trade any kind of asset, whether it be a security, not a security, on the same rails with the same liquidity. And so I think it's a really exciting opportunity, and it's going to rewire the way that we do a lot of our financial markets. And so it's a great option for those who are looking to be a part of the future of finance.
So, Kristin, Solana ETPs are expected in the next few weeks. How big of a market is this? How much are you expecting in terms of institutional inflows?
It's unclear. I don't have precise numbers, but we're having a lot of conversations. And again, I tend to work on the policy side, but I'm getting pulled into a lot of conversations with different types of asset allocators that are looking at Solana for the first time. And so I think this is a really big opportunity. As I said, only Bitcoin and Ethereum have been approved in the past. And what happened is last week, the SEC approved these generic listing standards for crypto ETPs. So you no longer have to go asset by asset. And so what we're going to see with Solana and other tokens is, as if they've been around for a while and been trading on exchanges and their futures products, there are automatic triggers that allow these products to be traded. So I think there's a tremendous amount of interest. As I said, there are a lot of funds and investors out there that for different reasons aren't able to go into the crypto spot market and buy the asset directly. And so having these alternative vehicles where they can get exposure, I think really, helps provide investors more options. And so, this is not something we would have seen under the last administration. They were very hostile towards crypto, but we're seeing all sorts of innovative products like DATs, these ETPs come online that give investors more choice.
Do you see Solana ETPs competing with DATs?
I think they're a different market. I think DATs are engaging, that's permanent capital. They're engaging in a wider range of activities than ETPs. And I think that there's, probably potential for more upside there than we would have with the ETFs. But I think, both products, depending on an investor's risk profile, are going to be wildly successful, and it's again, a huge opportunity for the world to get to understand what Solana is and how it is upgrading markets of all types.
So Solana ETP, Solana DATs, how do investor risk profiles, tolerances differ? Why would each or the other be attractive to investors?
Yeah, well, I think it's a different type of trade. I mean, the DATs are trading already today, and as I said, they are engaging in a much wider range of activities. Where the ETFs, what we have is the ETFs can hold the asset, and then they also can participate in staking, which helps to secure the network, and so there is a component of yield there. But I think the DATs are engaging in different types of activities, including participating in DeFi. That has the potential. But I think it's important that, investors, as they're looking at their options, that they do their research and really evaluate the risks, because, crypto is an asset class that moves up and down, and so you want to make sure that if you're investing in an equity that, is a wrapper around these digital assets, you understand what the opportunities and the risks are.
So let's talk about the Solana Policy Institute. You've launched a campaign called Protect the Builders. It's calling on Congress to craft digital asset legislation to help protect software developers who are building the next generation of financial infrastructure. This is one of your top policy priorities. Tell us more about it and where it stands today.
Yeah, open source blockchains are sort of the heart of the crypto ecosystem, and this is software, and this is software that is not necessarily maintained by a single company. They're often individuals or small teams that are contributing to the creation and maintenance of the software. And what we don't want to do is have a situation where if somebody goes out and writes code and puts that out in the world to be used, that they be held liable for any misuse of that code by a bad actor. And so having these protections enshrined in law are incredibly important. We were really excited that in the Senate there is market structure legislation that has these strong protections for software developers, because they are the innovators here. They're the ones that are building this new technology, and we want to make sure that they're not incentivized to go overseas because they fear being mistreated here in the U.S., and so we want to make sure that they're protected in law.
Kristin, tell us more about the Solana Policy Institute. What other projects you're working on at the moment that are important to you?
Yeah, I think the other one that's really important to us, kind of going back to the start of our conversation, is Project Crypto at the SEC. This is the SEC Chair Atkins' effort to try to update the regulations for crypto. One of the elements that he is looking at is how to bring traditional securities, including equities, into an on-chain world where they can be traded 24/7. They can be used as collateral in DeFi and all of the sort of things that we like about crypto, but do that for traditional equities. And so we've been engaged filing documents with the SEC and proposals about how we could, within the existing laws today, bring these equities on chain, which I think would be a great upgrade to the way that we trade them today.
Kristin, it's been a pleasure speaking with you again. Tell us a little bit more about the Solana Policy Institute, where we can follow you and where we can learn more.
Yes, you can learn more about us on Twitter, or X, I should say, and our handle is at Solana Institute, and you can check us out online at the SolanaPolicyInstitute.org.
And that's Kristin Smith, President of the Solana Policy Institute.